Spoiler warning for Moon Knight Episode 1. The first episode in Marvel's new Disney Plus show Moon Knight opens with a slightly curious scene. We see an unknown man smash a glass in a tea towel, and then pour the shattered fragments into his shoes. In a move as uncomfortable for the viewer as it is for this mystery man, he puts the glassy shoes on and goes for a walk. This is a bold opening, or at least it appears to be. It's a visceral and uncomfortable scene, but maybe not quite as much as it should be. As the promotional campaign for this show was building up, the Marvel press machine focused on one key characteristic. If you believe the hype, this was to be, by a country mile, the darkest, most mature, most gritty thing to come out of Marvel since Daredevil. To quote Big Man Kev, it would see the boundaries shifting on what Marvel are able to do. Talking to Empire magazine, Kevo said, "There are moments in this series where Moon Knight is wailing on another character, and it is loud and brutal, and the knee-jerk reaction is, we're gonna pull back on this, right? No, we're not pulling back. There's a tonal shift. This is a different thing. This is Moon Knight." But in the Moon Knight premiere, when our mystery man equips his sandals of -1 health, one thing stands out: the lack of blood. Because these shoes aren't closed, there's big gaps in the material. If you did this in real life, which I'm not advising, the floor would be red after a few steps. If this first scene, with its horrible, cringe-inducing feet-in-glass move, is some sort of opening gambit by the show to assert that this is a darker series than the cleaner offerings we're used to from Disney Plus, then it's a really hollow one. To be clear, I quite liked the premiere, all told. I didn't think it was like the best thing ever, but I was whelmed. The CGI in the car chase scene was woeful, but I liked the character focus, and the subtle storytelling moments, like the goldfish, or the way there's obviously no one on the other end of this family phone call. The Avatar bit was gold, and Oscar Isaac's performance has real weight to it. The British accent felt almost real, maybe 1 in every 20 words sounded off, but I think that might be intentional. Isaac's a great actor, and I've no doubt he could have delivered a perfect London accent were he so inclined, so the fact that the accent wobbled every now and then feels purposeful. And if this is the case, it's a really nice little detail, an almost natural accent for a persona which thinks it's a lifelong Brit, but who seemingly has only existed in the UK for a number of months. The weird cutting effect as Mark took over from Stephen was wonderfully disorienting, but we'll come back to that specific detail later. Because for all the talk of the Daredevil-like tone and action, we never really saw that, and that's not a problem in and of itself, but what I think we did see was this series brushing right up against the barrier for what Disney will allow on their streaming platform. We saw, a few fairly non-graphic deaths, a little bit of blood later on in the episode, but no blood in that opening scene, and that awesome-looking scene from the first trailer of Mark just going ham in the bathroom? Well, it turns out that was on some CGI glip-glop, not a real person. And whatever, that's fine. Whatever the promotion said, this was never going to be some uber-bloody grit-fest. I don't mind the tone. It's odd and unsettling enough that it's still engaging. Or at least that would have been my response if not for some pretty odd news, which broke the night before this show premiered, that Marvel has retroactively edited sections from a Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode to sanitize it. 2 changes have been made to episode 3. First, after Zemo shoots Nagel, there's now no blood in the following corpse close-up. Second, do you remember that scene where Bucky turned a guy into a kebab with a metal pipe? Well, now it just bounces off him. This edit is weird and really dumb, and that's not moralistic pearl clutching. I'm not just upset at the fact that Marvel's cut out some gore, or slightly lightened the show's tone, and I'm not upset because Marvel are exploiting the all-digital nature of Disney Plus to deny us of a final set product, like Kanye West or George Lucas did before them. No, my issue with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier change is an artistic one, because it makes the show worse. For instance, let's talk about that now bloodless shot of Nagel. This whole sequence comes right after our gang spent the night in Madripoor's Hightown, checking out expensive artwork and dancing the night away in posh clubs. Just after seeing this glimpse into the sweet life, however, we're across town in dingy shipping containers, wading through criminal scum and treachery. There's a sharp contrast drawn here between the comfortable lives of Madripoor's high society and the shady, evil dealings going on down the road, which fund such exuberance. It deepens our understanding of this new setting, Madripoor, and the contradiction and inequality which serves as this city's lifeblood. And in turn, this deepens our understanding of the show's characters, both the Flag Smashers and Bucky. Their desperation is more understandable if they come from the place that produced this. It's a similar matter with that removed pipe impaling. It speaks to the brutality of this place. The last major action set piece before this was the truck fight in episode 2, all superpowered action with enhanced strength, weird shield physics, indestructible arms and wingsuits, and now people are literally impaling each other with junk. That's quite the contrast. Furthermore, the fact that Bucky is the one doling out this punishment is significant. In that previous truck battle scene, Bucky's kind of pulling his punches. He's certainly not going full Winter Soldier rage mode on the Flag Smashers. But a little before this scene, when they arrived in Madripoor, Zemo pretended to trigger the Winter Soldier using the code words to preserve their cover, and Bucky had to play along. For a moment, we saw the darkness of the Winter Soldier return to Bucky, and following that scene, we were left wondering how much, if at all, that had affected his psyche. In this scene, when Bucky shish kebabs that bounty hunter, we see a brutal fighting style that had been lacking until this point. Could the darkness and violence of Bucky's past, programmed into him by Hydra, ever truly be ejected? Could he ever really leave the Winter Soldier behind? Or was the assassin still somewhere within him, ready to break out at a moment's opportunity? These are the issues that Bucky struggles with throughout the series. And while this kebabbing is a small moment, it isn't an unimportant one because it visualizes Bucky's fears that the violence and brutality of the Winter Soldier still drive his subconscious. But now we've lost that, and Bucky's internal struggles are all the shallower for it. It's against this background that I'm thinking about Moon Knight's first episode, and the slippery way it seems to avoid anything too gutsy, tonally speaking. Those cool moments where Mark takes over, and when we cut back all the guys are dead, that's awesome, but it also seems to be a method to keep anything truly violent off screen, for now at least. Given the way the mouse has secretly cleaned up the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is it possible Moon Knight 2 is going to be a project constrained by Disney+? Did Disney change the platform's guidelines partway through development, or something similar? It's too early to say, but I think this is something we should look out for as the next episodes of Moon Knight drop. Will this show ever jump over this invisible tonal boundary, which the first episode seems to brush up against time and time again? If it turns out the answer is no, that there is a hard cap on how much darkness we're allowed to see in Moon Knight, and it's more or less in line with what we've seen in episode 1, then I get the impression a lot of viewers are going to feel a little misled. This is the point of the video at which I'd like to say something like, Marvel can't keep changing their mind about what's allowed in these shows, how mature things are allowed to get forever. Sooner or later, they're gonna have to decide where the line is and stick to it. The thing is though, this Falcon and the Winter Soldier stealth edit has proved that this is not the case, that Marvel is willing and able to keep changing things, keep cleaning up the past whenever the urge strikes. And honestly, I don't think the ongoing existence of this possibility is going to be a good thing for the next few years of Marvel's content, artistically speaking. From Ethan Hawke's oddly bloodless feat to the retroactive sanitizing of their Disney Plus catalogue, it seems Marvel still has a problem with maturity. All I'm asking of you is to keep this in mind as the next few Moon Knight episodes drop, because it might help us to understand this series and this studio a little better. But for now, that's it. So a big thanks as always to all my patrons on screen now, and especially Ian Fifield. I'm Pillar of Garbage, and I'll see you soon.